Hey folks, I am Kevin Iole from Yahoo Sports. One of my favorite guys to interview, one of my favorite guys to watch fight is my next guest at UFC 252 a week from Saturday on August 15th. You can see him at Apex. And what I think is the toughest fight of his career against Marlon Chito Vera. Of course, I'm talking about none other than the Suga Show, Sean O'Malley. Sean, my man, how are you?
Doing good. Just busting out some interviews this morning. Hanging out and waiting to get to fight week.
I think this is the fight that everybody's been waiting for in your career because, everybody knows you've got the great stand-up and that you can knock people out. They want to know what you can do if a fight happens to get to the ground. Obviously, Marlon Vera has good stand-up, but he also has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. How do you see this fight, and do you feel like this is the biggest test so far in your young career?
Yeah, 100% toughest fight to date. He's won his last 6 fights with 5 finishes. And he's never been finished, and he's got a good amount of fights in the UFC. So not ever being finished in the UFC and having as many fights as he has, he's going to be hard to put away. That's what I'm an expert in, is putting people away. So, it just adds for a sweet fight. Can I put him away? Can he put me away? He's obviously going to try to take me down, take my back, choke me, whatever. And I'm going to try to keep the fight standing, but I'm not familiar with the ground game. I understand jiu-jitsu. I've been doing it for a long time. Whether he takes me down and I either get back up or I play my guard and see where it goes from there, I'm excited.
You actually, I was going to mention this later, but you mentioned that you were involved in Quintet last year, where I know you submitted Takanori Gomi. You lost to Hector Lombard, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Hector Lombard, a much bigger guy. How much does that experience of fighting, grappling, Gilbert Melendez was another guy that you grapple with. How much does that experience help you? These are top level MMA fighters that you're grappling with, and does it help you prepare for an actual fight? I know that there's no punching in there. Does that help you at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the thing that it helped the most was my confidence, knowing I can grapple with Gilbert Melendez, Takanori Gomi, not so much Hector.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a big confidence boost knowing I can, going into the grappling matches, you don't know who you're going to compete against. So, but I had a training camp for that Quintet match, so I was going in there ready to go against whoever and compete hard. And then submitting Gomi and then going 8 minutes with Gilbert Melendez was huge for me. I felt like it really gave me that confidence, like, damn, I can grapple with these high-level guys in a competition, because I grapple with high-level guys in training all the time. Right. But translating it to competition is another thing, and I've never had an issue with competing. So it was nice to know I can go and compete with the high-level black belts. So I don't think of Chito as the best grappler in the world. I do think of him as a high-level grappler, but I train with high-level grapplers, so I don't think he's going to surprise me with anything.
I think a lot of fans, they haven't seen you do it, so they question whether you can do it, and so they look at this fight. But the odds makers, I was mentioned to you a couple seconds ago, the odds makers don't seem to have that same concern. At the MGM Grand, Sean O'Malley is minus 310, Marlon Vera is plus 250, so better than a 3-1 favorite in this fight. Do you feel like that's a good number? Do you feel that's an appropriate odds for where you two are in your career at this point?
I think that's pretty funny. I didn't know that the odds until you told me. So, I think, a lot of people I told people when I was fighting Jose, I'm putting him out in the first. I told people when I'm fighting Eddie, I'm putting him out in the first. I think I can get a finish against Chito. He's never been finished. So if I go out there and put him away, that's a huge step. I feel like, especially on being the first main event on a double main event card, it's sweet. I'm excited, and it's a perfect opponent because he's not going to go out there. Eddie Wineland wasn't going to go out there and fold over easy. Right. It's not like he had a choice to whether he folded or not. When you get hit in the chin like that, your lights go off. You go to sleep. So I plan on doing the same thing to Chito. I think his chin's never been tested too much. He's been hit, but he gets hit up here on the top of the head, the forehead. I hit people on the chin. I put people to sleep by putting them right on the chin. And not hard, but fast. I'm fast and I hit people accurately. So, that's a dangerous combination.
I was impressed. I have to say, when I watched the replay, I was there live for the fight, but I was more impressed when I saw, kind of the replay of it and where you brought that hand from and how quickly it got there. Talk us through that sequence, what you saw, and how that fight with Eddie Wineland ended.
Yeah, I threw that same combination, uppercut 3 in the air, two to the chin. A little bit right before, probably 30 seconds before that landed, I threw it more of a right, overhand right, rather than a straight right. But really what set it up was the spinning body kick. I hit him right in the liver, and Eddie's such a tough dude that a lot of people will go down from that shot. Like 95% of people will go down from that shot. And only 1% of people will try to throw a right hand. He tried to hit me. It landed, and he was still trying. I ended up throwing another hard body kick, and then a little check right hook that wobbled him. And that spinning kick, thank God it didn't land because his head might have fell off. So then I'm done with the right hand. But yeah, that was the whole sequence was just beautiful art form. It was, it was perfection.
When you land a punch like that, can you feel it like all the way through your body? Like, does it have that certain feel that, maybe other punches don't necessarily have?
It feels like nothing. It feels like, it didn't feel like I hit anything. Doesn't hurt your hand. It feels like you just punched through the air. It's a really weird feeling, but the amount of people I've knocked out with this right hand it's weird because I feel like I have more power in my left hand. I haven't really got to knock too many people out with my left hand. So I'm excited to knock someone out with my left hand. And I think this could be a good fight. I know he stands southpaw. And I enjoy when people switch stances because I can play so many games with their heads when they switch stances. So
they create openings for you, right?
What's that?
They create openings for you, don't they, when they do that?
When they switch stances, yeah, I feel like someone that switched stances is going to not be as good in one or the other stance, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But when they're fighting me, I think they need to have really, really good striking in one stance or the other. Switching it up is going to be a nightmare for him.
Do you throw a check hook in there?
That's that check hook I landed on Eddie, that right hand. I don't understand. I rewatched and I don't understand how it was so fast. I just don't get it. I feel superhuman speed in there. I feel when those lights hit and my feet are on that canvas, it's just, I feel superhuman. It's weird.
You're fighting in the 25-foot cage, and there's been a little bit of talk, is the 25-foot cage favor a certain type of fighter? Obviously, Stipe Miocic is in the main event against Daniel Cormier, and Miocic wanted the bigger cage. Cormier, who said, bring your wrestling shoes, he was happy with the smaller cage, which it will be. Do you think it favors any style of fighter over the other, or do you think the 25-foot cage, people talking about it causing all these finishes, is overblown?
I think it definitely affects, wrestlers who want to put you up against the fence. They have a lot less, the offensive guy moving around, or I guess in my case, me moving around. Marlon's going to want to put me up against the fence. I have less space to move around. So yeah, I think it favors whoever the grappler is, whoever wants to put you up against the fence. It favors them if they can get you to the fence. If not, what I think kind of going to happen is Marlon's going to try to force me up against the fence and get cracked hard doing so. Because when there's more room, you have to almost be more calculated with getting someone up against the fence. When you're in that small of an octagon, you almost feel like you could just put him up against the fence, and it takes one mistake he makes and for me to land a hard shot to change the entire fight. So, but I bought a cage, the same size cage as the Apex. I've been training in it the last 4 weeks. My grappling sessions, my mitt sessions, my sparring sessions. I'm really familiar with the size of the cage, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. Fighting Eddie, getting in that cage, I was surprised how small it was. It was really small, but training in there the last 4 weeks, I'm extremely comfortable with it now.
I watched a number of your fights early this morning, and the one thing that doesn't get talked about a lot is sometimes when guys, especially when they try to put you up against the cage, you have a good knee with them, and that's something that I haven't heard a lot of people give you a lot of credit for. But do you feel like that knee you throw is also a weapon against somebody like Chito?
Yeah, I don't think Cheeto's gonna shoot too much to where the knee. He's not too much shorter than me, which is another thing I think is gonna be a big role. Is I'm gonna be taller than him. I'm gonna be longer than him, and he's not. And it's weird fighting someone that's longer than you and taller than you. It's a different game. You got to get inside. You can't fight on the outside. So I think that's going to affect him. But I don't think he's going to shoot like that to where the knee will be as big of a weapon. It's definitely there if he does shoot. I'm throwing it right up the middle. But I think he's more of a clinch up against the fence.
Yeah.
Try to clinch me and use his trips. He has some pretty good trips up against the fence. So I'm going to be, trying to avoid even getting my back on the fence. That's the only way he can beat me is he gets me up against the fence, takes me down, and it takes my back. Other than that, I don't see him. I don't see any way he can. He's not going to outstrike me. He's not going to out wrestle me. I don't think he's going to be shooting in the open.
Right.
And if he does shoot up against the cage, I have really good timing on that knee. So, I think there's just very, very few ways of him actually winning this fight.
Now, we know you're fighting Marlon Vera, but a lot of people, if they look at your social media, sometimes think you're fighting Cody Garbrandt. After your last fight, when you knocked out Eddie Wineland, Garbrandt fought on that show as well. A lot of people talked about maybe the two of you getting together and fighting. That did not happen, but you guys have kind of gotten into a little bit of a feud. What's going on there? Do you think it's realistic to think at this stage of your career that that Cody might be in your immediate future somewhere?
Yeah, I think Dana said it. Everyone heard Dana say it on the Schmo podcast. I might be misrepresenting what he said, but what I heard was we don't want to make Sugar versus Cody fight yet because after Sugar knocks him out, who does he fight next? He's limited to fight he only can fight a couple other guys above him. We don't want that to happen yet. Something along those lines. So I think Cody's doing the right thing, going down to 25 and fighting Figueiredo. I just said this a little bit ago too. If he drops down and beats him, I'm pumped. I'm going for Cody. I would love for Cody to go down, knock out Figueiredo, and come back up to 35, and we get a fight eventually. It'll make it that much sweeter when I knock him out because I'm basically champ by then. But the other side of that is almost maybe the more realistic side. He goes down to 25, gets knocked out by Figueiredo. Then he's 1-4 in his last 5 with 4 not getting – 4 KO losses. And then I knock him out, and then he's 1-5 with KO. It's just not the same. So if he drops down to 25, I'm going for him. I'm rooting for him. I think he should. I think it'll be good for him. He's not a big 35er. I don't think the cut should be too big. When I see him, I didn't know it was him. I thought it was like a 25er,
Mm-hmm.
So then he turned around, and then, you know what Cody looks like. But just seeing him in person, he looks like a 25er. So I think the cut shouldn't be too bad. But that'd be a tough fight down there for him.
Were you impressed with his KO? He fought the same amount as you. He had the one-punch KO as well. Were you impressed with that?
From a fan's perspective, like seeing someone get knocked out like that's crazy. It's like, damn, that was sweet. From a high-level striking perspective, it was embarrassing almost. Closed his eyes, bent down, and just bombed right hand. In the UFC, you can do that though. You're wearing those little gloves,
right?
There's just no room for error. And when you hit as hard as he does, you can put people's lights out like that. If he bent down like that in front of me, he would have got kicked in the face. So it wasn't impressive in a technical standpoint. It was impressive in a sense that was a tough, and he knocked him out. But he looked improved. He looked like he was a little bit more calm in there. He was more calculated. So he did look more improved. And it was probably a good thing, he switched camps and switched up some things.
So you were ranked 14th in the bantamweight division right now. So Cody's not on your immediate. If things go the way you expect against Marlon at UFC 252, what would be next for you? Where in the division is there anybody that you would call out, or do you see anybody that makes sense for you in your next fight after Vera?
I think it depends what Cody's plans are. I think that fight's not that unrealistic. If I go out there and do what I plan on doing to Marlon, I don't think anyone's going to question whether I should fight Cody or not. If you did a poll and asked the fans who do they want to see me fight next, I guarantee it's going to be Cody Garbrandt.
Yep.
I don't see why that fight doesn't happen next if I go out there and do what I plan on doing to Marlon. But also, I got to get through Marlon, and if I go out there and beat him in a decision, I don't think I'd necessarily deserve Cody in a, you know, I got to go out there and put Marlon's lights out. He's never been finished. And if I can go out there and do that, I think that's a big statement.
Awesome. Well, you will see this young man, UFC 252 on August 15th from Apex in Las Vegas, Nevada, fighting Marlon Vera, Sugar Sean O'Malley, one of the best guys in the UFC. You're going to see a lot of him in the near future. Sean, I really appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much.
Yep. Always enjoy doing these with you. I really appreciate it.